Hey, Husker fans, welcome back to the Husker Big Red YouTube channel. I'm Chris Peterson of HuskerBigRed.com, and joining me as always is my co-host Danny Gillette of thegreatcornholio.org. We are less than 12 hours away from kickoff between Nebraska and Purdue, and we are going to kick off this Saturday morning with some bold predictions for the Cornhuskers and the Boilermakers. So, Danny, how you doing? It's game day, man.
I think it's going to be a really great game. I honestly think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be a tight game. I think it's going to be, a game where we're going to see a lot of impactful plays and special plays. And sure, we see those in every game, but this game is particularly special as the top of the BigTen West is up for grabs.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting too. We see, Minnesota and Illinois are playing today. Also, so like the top four teams in the Big Ten West are battling it out. So we're going to have some more clarity about, the division race by the end of the day. And it's just fun to have, Nebraska playing in a big game, not being, 1-3 in the conference. We're 2-1, should be 3-0, but we're 2-1. And, like I've said all week, here, on the YouTube channel, HuskerBigRed.com, if Nebraska wins this game, they've got a legitimate chance to get to Indianapolis. And I think that that's pretty exciting going into tonight.
It's nice to actually look forward to Saturdays now a little bit. There's a little bit more excitement in the air, and that's certainly not going to change with tonight's game. That's for sure.
Nebraska's got the big Mick energy right now with Mickey Joseph. He's got the momentum. 2 wins in a row. I know last week they kind of won ugly, but I don't. Nebraska hasn't
Wins
won
are
very
wins.
much.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll take the ugly win, and for them to come from 13 down and another second half shutout, like it was such a gritty performance, and it's kind of you have to win those games. Have a game like that, if you're going to win a championship. Not saying that Nebraska's going to, but they're right there, and Purdue's going to be a big test tonight. Aiden O'Connell, a pretty solid defense, but I don't think that this is a juggernaut, and I think Nebraska's got a shot. We both have said, we don't necessarily agree with the odds. We'll see. I mean, the odds makers have had a tough time with Nebraska all year, so it's going to be interesting. But I do think Nebraska is going to have a good chance of covering the 13.5-point spread.
Yeah, I'm certainly glad I'm not betting the house on Nebraska this year. That's for sure. But yes, I think it's going to be a very intriguing game. A lot of exciting matchups, and a lot of things that Nebraska in particular needs to focus on.
So, we are going to talk in this segment, about some of our bold predictions here. We'll lay out 3 each, and I guess we'll just start with you, Danny. What's you can either go all 3 or you can go one at a time. But what are some of your bold predictions for this matchup?
I'll start with one at a time because it's still early and I'm half asleep. So, one of my bold prediction is that Marcus Washington will get at least 50 yards receiving. I wrote about him on Friday, and he's really kind of settled into that, complimentary receiver role, which isn't a bad thing when you have Trey Palmer. When you have Trey Palmer, everybody seems like a complimentary receiver. But Washington played well against Rutgers last Friday. I believe he had 4 catches for 52 yards, if I'm not mistaken. And, I think he's going to have another big game tonight as Thompson and Washington continue to establish their connection on the field.
Yeah, I definitely think Marcus Washington's going to have a good game tonight. So I'll offer up my first prediction, which is also about a receiver, and I'm going to go with Trey Palmer, and I'm going to say that Trey catches another touchdown tonight, and I think he's going to go over 100 yards. No team has really slowed down. I think his lowest game in terms of receiving yards is like 68 yards. He's caught a touchdown in 3 straight games, and Purdue has actually given up the 3rd most touchdown passes in the Big Ten. They've given up 13 this year. So, I mean, they do have a pretty good scoring defense, and their run defense, is pretty stout. But I think if Casey Thompson can get any sort of protection, he's going to have a really big game tonight. I almost put, him going over 300 as a prediction. I didn't. But I do think Trey Palmer is going to get over 100 because even if Casey, is running for his life, I still think Trey's going to find a way to make a couple big plays against this Purdue secondary.
Absolutely, because that's where Palmer's speed comes in. You can only match up with him for so long, and I do believe he's going to have a chance to break off a couple of big catches and, break off a couple of big gains after the catch.
So our first bold predictions with receivers. What's your number 2 bold prediction for Nebraska and Purdue, Danny?
Anthony Grant will rush for over 100 yards. Purdue's in the middle of the pack defensively with 97 rushing yards allowed per game. Not great, not the best, but I do think Anthony Grant had a little bit of a rough week last week. Not his fault entirely, as we've well documented. But I believe he gets back on track with 100 yards, and he kind of gets back into the swing of things after a down week last week. And let's face it, a lot of players had a down week last week.
Yeah, and I think if Anthony Grant rushes for 100 yards, I think Nebraska's going to win this game. That's exactly what they need to do. If they can, Purdue's not a team that loves to run the football a lot. They love to throw it. So for Nebraska, I think if they could get Grant, 20, 25 attempts, get Irvin or Yant, whoever else, get over 30, 40 rushing attempts, keep the number of snaps down for Aiden O'Connell, I think that's a winning formula for sure. One of my bold predictions, and you can see these two at huskerbigred.com if you want. I'm kind of reading off of a story I wrote last night, but this is probably my boldest prediction. And I'm going to say that Nebraska is going to get more sacks tonight than Purdue. Purdue's pass rush is kind of middle of the pack, but in terms of the Big Ten rankings in both areas, and I just think that Nebraska's offensive line, even though they're not going to play great, they're going to give up a lot of pressure. But I think in terms of sacks, I think Whipple hopefully will make some adjustments, with in terms of chipping and offering fullbacks and running backs and tight ends a little bit more on pass plays. And I think that Casey Thompson, starting last week, did a better job of getting rid of the ball quickly. I think that continues this week. I think he faces a lot of pressure, but I think he's only sacked a couple times, and I think Nebraska is going to get home, 3-4 times tonight. And part of the reason for that is I don't think Purdue, is going to run the football. And if you've noticed the last couple of weeks, when Nebraska can get people into, favorable down and distances, these guys are actually, getting some pressure. And Bill Bush actually, knows how to design some pressure packages. So I'm not saying they're going to win, but I think Nebraska's going to get 3 sacks again tonight.
And pressure is the key word for you there too, because O'Shawn Mathis, although he hasn't put up like amazing sack numbers, he's gotten in the backfield and gotten pressures, and it's really been noticeable. And he's really picked up his play over the last couple of weeks here, and it's great to see because we really need him to be an anchor to this defensive line.
Yeah, and I think you can say the same thing about Garrett Nelson and also about Caleb. Caleb Tanner, I don't believe has a sack over these last 2 games, but his production and his pass rush, impact has just been tremendous. Colton Feast, had the sack.
Too, yep.
But and even on that sack, I mean, Caleb Tanner was literally right there. And so he's stepped up. I think Ty Robinson has also played much better. And I think that, it's just been a simplified system. And these guys, I think, are confident. And it's just a matter of them playing, and they're not thinking. And it's also, too, when you get people in 3rd and long situations, it's a little easier to be like, okay, I'm going to overload one side with a pass rush, or I'm going to run a stunt here, I'm going to bring a certain pressure package. It's a little tougher to do that, when it's constantly 3rd and 4 or 3rd and 3, 2nd and 5. So I think that stopping the run, which Nebraska's done a pretty good job of the last 2 weeks, if you take away the Noah Vedral runs last week, they hold Rutgers under 100 yards. So if they can do that again tonight, I feel like the pass rush is going to have success, and it's starting to look like these pass rushers like we thought they were going to at the start of the season.
Well, it also helps when you're put in favorable positions where you can actually play how you know how to play. So I guess my third
subtle dig at Eric Shenander.
Yeah,
right there.
Well, I could dig at Eric Shenander all day, believe me.
Yes.
But my third bold prediction is that Nebraska will get at least 2 interceptions tonight. They had 3 last week. And Aiden O'Connell loves to throw the ball. They have the 3rd most passing attempts in the Big Ten on the season with 257. And so I believe there's going to be opportunities to, snag the ball, take the ball away, and get that interception. Last week it was Miles Farmer, Brandon Moore, and Malcolm Hartzog. I'm not going to predict who it's going to be this week because I'm terrible at predictions, as you all know. But, I think we might get 2 turnovers, 2 interceptions this week.
It does, Sean Callahan made it seem like, Quentin Newsome is going to play today, which I think would be huge. And also Luke Reimer. So that would also, be a big deal. But yeah, Hartzog has been really good, finding the ball. And so hopefully that can happen tonight. Purdue also is down its top 2 running backs, and Charlie Jones, their big receiver, hasn't played a lot. So they're going through some issues too. And their offensive line also, kind of has some depth problems. I do think it's going to be a high octane game. And so my final bold prediction is that Nebraska is going to score 30 points tonight. I don't know if that's going to be a win, but I think this game is going to turn into kind of Aiden O'Connell and Casey Thompson, throwing the ball up and down the field. I think the defenses are going to get a little bit tired. Unfortunately, I do see Purdue kind of having the lead most of the night and Nebraska playing catch up. And, I don't necessarily, we didn't pick Nebraska to win this game. I do think that they are going to end up falling something like 38-31, but I do think that Casey Thompson has a big night and the Huskers, hit 30 points for the third time in 4 Big Ten games, which I still think is a good sign going forward. And even if Nebraska doesn't lose this game, I think that, a solid performance can still kind of keep, the Mickey Joseph train and things moving ahead as long as they, turn around and beat Illinois after the bye week. So I just think they have to win one of these 2 games going into November.
And to me, the offense needs to play solidly in both halves. They can't start off slow like they have been. It seems like they've been able to flip the switch in the second half. They can't do that tonight. They have to play well in the first half as well. And, although I doubt that they will, the line has to show up. And, they need to be better. Casey Thompson can only do so much when he's given a tenth of a second to throw. And it makes life tough. So, the offensive line is going to undergo a big test. And I remember last week they talked about, the offensive line has been hearing all the complaints, so now they're going to try to play better. Good. I hope they watch this video and hear all my big mouth, because I hope that means they play better and literally save the life of Casey Thompson.
Yeah, they've got to get, I'm at the point where I don't know how they could play worse. So I'm just like, they've eventually somehow have got to just have a lucky day where they play better. I just don't know how it could get worse than last week. I know Casey only got sacked once, but he got hit, it seemed like 20 times throwing the ball.
Yeah, that sack stat is very, very misleading.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll see. The one thing about Purdue, is they're not Michigan or Ohio. It's not like they don't have their typical first round pass rusher that they, so I don't see them killing Casey, but I don't know. They probably will. I think Anthony Grant, and they've got to run the ball. And you're right. They've got to get off to a quick start tonight, because if you fall behind, against this Purdue team on the road, I just think, it's going to be tough to catch up.
And, the offensive line is not taking these Purdue defenders to the high school dance. Don't hold their hands. Extend your hands and block the crap out of them. Protect your quarterback. Please, please, please. And I'll be interested to see if they try to get Thompson out of the pocket a little bit more, just more on the run throws to give him time. That's something I've been, really kind of hoping that they would do, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see if, Mickey said we have to basically call plays smarter for Casey Thompson and try to, protect the offensive line. So we'll see what that means. I'm hoping it means a little more running plays. Yeah, some more, some more rollout stuff. But I just think more running plays, fewer plays overall in this game. I think the fewer the better for Nebraska. This is one of those times where Mickey, needs to say, hey, Mark, we don't need to run a play every 10 seconds. Slow down and let's keep our defense off the field, and keep handing the ball to Anthony Grant, because if you establish a running game, that definitely is going to help, these guys pass protect better for Casey Thompson.
100%. And it's also going to give, like you said, the defense will give some time to rest, and it'll make Nebraska be able to control the pace of the game. Pace of the game is going to be important tonight. And if Nebraska can just slow things down and, put the game in their hands with their pace, then I think they have a good shot tonight.
So I'm on the record again. I'm going 38-31 Purdue. That's my final prediction. I want the Huskers to win, but my head tells me they just don't have quite enough. I think it's going to be a good game. What's your final prediction, Danny? Are you sticking with your score from earlier this week, or?
I don't remember that score. Do you remember that score?
I don't off the top. I think it was 31-24 Purdue. I think you picked Purdue, but
31-21, I think. I don't know. So yeah, I'm still sticking with it. Purdue wins, not for the lack of trying on the part of the Huskers. It's just going to be a tough game. It's a night game at Purdue. Very good quarterback. Decent defense, and Purdue always gives Nebraska trouble on the road. So I don't expect that to change tonight.
And, Purdue, if they don't fall apart in the last couple of minutes against Penn State and Syracuse, I mean, this is a top 20 team that's 6-0 this week. So Purdue is no joke. They are a very real threat to win the Big Ten West and, make it to Indianapolis. But if Nebraska can win tonight, that will change, what a lot of people think about this Husker team. And I think it's going to be full steam ahead for Mickey Joseph if they get a win tonight. So thanks again for joining us, folks, here on the Husker Big Red YouTube channel. For more of our content, make sure you check out my stuff at huskerbigred.com. Go over to greatcornholio.org, check out his stuff, and make sure that you are liking, these videos, commenting, and subscribing to our channel. We are planning to have a gut reaction show tonight after Purdue. So,
And they
if you
will be
watch
gut
this
reactions. I will
yeah.
be flying off the hinge either way. And I was just laughing because I was remembering the time he called me Danny Cornholio, and I think that's hilarious because it sounds like I'm an adult film star or something. I am not an adult film star, but you can find my work at thegreatcornholio.org.
That is a good adult film star name, though, Danny Cornholio. I think you should change your Twitter name to that.
That would be awesome. Hey, if we get to a bowl game, if we get to a bowl game, I'll change my name to Danny Cornholio. You heard it here first. It's on the record.
You heard it here first on the record. All right. Well, we will catch up with you folks tonight with some gut reactions. Hopefully, we got some happy partying reactions, but either way, we'll be here through it all. And as always, go Big Red.
Go Big Red.